Big breaking news coming in here on India Today, and this pertains to the 60-day standoff between the Indian and Chinese armies in Doklam. Sources have told India Today's executive editor Gaurav Sawant that senior Indian and Chinese army officers have met today very close to the area in Doklam where this standoff is taking place. Sources say army officers from both sides have met about 30 kilometers from Doklam. This high-level army border meeting has taken place at Nathula. Doklam is under discussion at this Nathula border meeting is what we are given to believe, and this meeting could crank down tensions. Our understanding is that this is the first major border management meeting taking place just 30 kilometers from Doklam between senior officers of the Indian Army and the Chinese Army. 30 kilometers away from Doklam at Nathula on the Sikkim border with Tibet, where this meeting is taking place. Could this mean a de-escalation? Could this lead to a de-escalation? We don't know just yet. But the big story being broken first and exclusive as always here by Executive Editor Gaurav Sawant, who joins me live now from the national capital. Gaurav, a scheduled border management meeting taking place only 30 kilometers away from Doklam at Nathula. Senior officers were given to believe, Gaurav, are part of this border management meeting. Take us through the details. This is big.
This is big. It's hope that it'll help crank down tensions, as you rightly pointed out. But even as we speak, both Indian and Chinese soldiers remain in a standoff situation at the Doklam plateau. But the fact that the border defense management meetings are still happening at the designated border defense management spots, this one happening at Nathula, is an indicator that systems are in place, systems are robust, and interaction is taking place. Will this lead to something positive? It's still too premature. From indications from Beijing earlier were that China continues to stick to its stance, saying there should be complete and unconditional withdrawal before the dialogue mechanism can once again take place. India, of course, saying that both parties should gradually wind down, and it could be a gradual process. It doesn't have to be instant. Perhaps initially thinning down troops and then gradually withdrawing, timing not so critical of a couple of hours here and there, though there should be an explicit understanding that there will be no road building in that sector. So as of now, very preliminary information that sources are giving India Today, still not officially being confirmed by the Ministry of Defence.
Absolutely. And you know, Gaurav, it's hard to miss the importance of this. You know, border management team meetings do take place as part of the existing mechanism between India and China. But the very fact that the atmosphere on both sides right now is dictated by what's happening in the Tri-Junction area, which happens to be only 30 kilometers away from Nathula, where this border management meeting is taking place, is obviously going to lead to a certain degree of expectation that that is precisely what is going to be on the table, and that will be under discussion.
Shiv, you're spot on there, but our sources, they're deliberately insisting that hope should not be high at this stage. Remember, there have been meetings at the level of the National Security Advisor Ajit Doval and his Chinese counterpart on the boundary talks, Yang Jiechi, in Beijing, and that didn't lead to a positive outcome or a completely positive outcome just as yet. But what's also positive is that existing border mechanisms are in place, they're robust, and they are being engaged. Though the rhetoric from the Chinese media in a section of their government, whether the army or the foreign office, does continue, but even in China, Shiv, what's extremely interesting is the fact that while somebody like a Global Times, a newspaper like the Global Times may take a hard line, Xinhua or the People's Daily, they are taking another line which is not so harsh, which talks about negotiations, which also talks about positivities between the two countries. So perhaps even within China, there are two schools of thought, and there is a meshing that is currently underway. So perhaps no immediate solutions, but hoping for a thaw on either side, as sources indicate.
Absolutely, Gaurav. I mean, in the sequence of events leading up to this standoff and thereafter, this is definitely a big development. Lots of anticipation. We'll keep our viewers posted on what happened at that border management meeting. Gaurav will, of course, break that first here on India Today. Well, amidst that standoff between India and China and Doklam, India's External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj met her Bhutanese counterpart. The two met in Kathmandu on the sidelines of the ongoing BIMSTEC Ministerial Summit. Speaking out for the first time in a month, Bhutan said that it hopes for a peaceful resolution to the Doklam standoff that is taking place on Bhutanese territory. Meanwhile, China continues its non-stop mind games and warmongering. In another rant, the state-run Global Times newspaper, as Gaurav just mentioned, said that the Chinese army will not budge an inch backwards in Doklam and then continue to warn India of serious military consequences if it doesn't withdraw from the region.
How was the meeting? How was the meeting? Was it a good?
It was a very good discussion.
And in terms of the crisis that India and China and Bhutan are facing, was that really discussed?
Mr. Minister, if you will kindly just say, what did you discuss with the Minister? We hope that the situation in Doklam will be resolved peacefully and amicably.
The bilateral meeting between External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj and her Bhutanese counterpart here in Kathmandu focused on the border standoff at the India-China-Bhutan tri-junction. And the Bhutanese foreign minister emphasized that only an amicable and peaceful solution could resolve the situation in Doklam. Certainly, Doklam was raised and discussed between the two sides, but both countries trying to engage China to de-escalate tensions, while China only continues to up the ante. With duty journalist Prem Chandra Mishra in Kathmandu, Geeta Mohan.
It's been 2 months since the Doklam standoff began, and experts are wondering if war, all-out hostilities, military war, could actually follow all this warmongering by the Chinese army, media and their diplomats almost daily now. If so, does India have enough firepower and military might to defeat China if war were to break out? Take a look.
According to this war simulation by the Indian Military Review magazine, 2018 presents an opportune window for China to hit out at India. The perfect time to strike before India completes crucial weapons purchases and is fully war ready. For instance, the first French-made multi-role Rafale fighters are due to arrive in 2019 and the light combat aircraft in 2021. According to the IMR war simulation, the war could begin early next year. This is how the grand build-up to war may actually unfold. In the spring of 2018, the Dragon mounts a massive deception centered in Ladakh with a series of border incursions to distract and provoke the Indian army, with Pakistan launching a series of ceasefire violations along the line of control. Next, the Chinese mount a series of aggressive firepower drills in Tibet to drum up attention. And then begins the steady needling in Barahoti, Uttarakhand, the middle sector. By the end of August 2018, the Border Defense Regiment of China silently mobilizes its huge forces to the border areas of India's northeast. The experts visualizing the India-China War 2018 say this is only the beginning of what comes next.